Oh, indeed they have. It's Friday afternoon. The two Revs are back, and so are the comments from Facebook. Woo!
Yay!
Good afternoon, my lovely, lovely friends. Hello, 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 and hello to you all on this fine Friday afternoon.
Wonderful to be back.
It certainly is. That took it out of me, I'll tell you. Whoa. But
I
yes,
bet.
exciting times. The comments are back. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. I nearly died when I saw my comment come up on the screen. I thought, yes.
I know. Would have needed to have done the mediumship in order to carry on the show. Oh, Eddie, they won't let you out. The nurse won't let you have until you have the pointy. I see. I'm with you now, dear.
Yes.
Yes, bless you. Well, healing on the way, and of course to our Reverend Alan as well. Healing to you. If you are watching, hello, Rev, and hello to Michael. Hello to Kaza. Hello to Dawny. Hello to Eddie. Hello to everybody. Hello, everybody.
Oh, I saw.
Say hello.
Yes, I saw somebody's Facebook post. Oh,
Hello.
I think it might have been Kaza actually who posted a Christmas aisle in a supermarket. Already.
Yes.
Sherry Ann's in the house as well from France.
Bonjour, mademoiselle. Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. And of course, what a! It's the right time of day for you. Aha!
Yay!
Hello, Glenda. Arrived in the UK, doing wonderful, wonderful London exploring, and gonna be here very soon. Just think, this time next week, I'll be preparing to get in the car and come and get you, girl. Glenda Marie is from Australia. She's my co-host on a Monday morning.
Yes.
And she's currently in London doing the London stuff. And she'll be coming to Littleport next Saturday.
Fabulous.
Oh,
fabulous.
And yes.
Say hello. April Tipple, hi to you. Ah, it was. You see, the grey matter. The grey matter is working.
And hello to the Republic of Liverpool. I love that. And it's my newest friend, Julie Caswell. Good afternoon. How you doing? Hey. And yes, so Christmas is a-coming. Santa's getting fat. Please put a penny in anybody who needs its hat.
Yes. There are lots that do. Out in the world at the moment. Hi, Paul.
Hello, young man. Good afternoon. Yes. Good afternoon. You know, I've suddenly realised our new intro sequence is about a minute shorter, so it does take a little bit longer to get, than the build-up of people realising we're here. But It does mean that we've got more time to say hello, like good afternoon, mother.
Oh, how rude! Could you not have had your haircut before the show?
I know, and I'm assuming you mean Christmas, Kaza.
Yes. Please don't say the C word.
Very nearly a Christmas blooper reel moment. Yes. And Claire is in the house. Quick hello before going to get some work done.
Yeah. Cassie Fendick.
Hi, hairdresser here. That's my niece. That's my niece. That's the hairdresser that's doing mother's hair.
Oh,
Cassie.
You could have done it before the show.
Cassie. Just put it on the main telly for her. She's got YouTube on the smart screen. You can have it playing through the telly. It'll all be fine. You can hear it from the kitchen when you're snipping away. It's oi. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hello from Gran Canaria. Oh, Paul, of course.
Wow. Wonderful.
And I'm not going to sing happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday. Happy birthday to Paul. Happy birthday to Paul. Happy birthday, dear Paul. Happy birthday, dear
birthday
Paul.
to you. Yes.
That was singing, but in the style of William Shatner. who cut albums without singing.
He did. He did. We used to have one at one point. I remember Michael playing it and me threatening to put it into some orifice.
Not the blender, just yeah. Going to say, why bother with a blender when there's an orifice about? There you go.
Yeah.
And on that spiritual note, hello to everyone who said hello, and hello to everyone who hasn't. If you haven't, we understand if you don't want to, but also if you do, don't be shy. Let us know you're there. For example, there she is, the lovely Joanne Lewis. Hi, darling. You're getting good at arriving on time, my darling. It hasn't gone unnoticed. But yes. So, what have you been up to, Reverend Tony?
We have been at the caravan. We have been sorting stuff out. We've been went to Bridlington yesterday, Costa del Bridlington, which was very nice. Had a day there with Claire's other half and the boys and Daisy and everybody. And it was beautiful. It was a gorgeous day yesterday. And then jumping forward to the weekend, we will be at the Rotherham show. So if anybody's in and around South Yorkshire or locale and wants to pop to Rotherham, come and see us. We'll be at the Rotherham show for the next 2 days.
Fantastic.
How about you, sir?
It has been massively busy since we last spoke. I've had a couple of extra jobs this week. We had my first ever online workshop on Sunday, The Way of the Candle. And then on Tuesday, I did an online debate, all Zoomies, about, drum roll please.
Oh, yes. You teased this last time we spoke.
Certainly did. So the topic of conversation for the workshop, first and foremost, was a method of developing one's mediumistic senses without connecting to spirit, about exercising one's spirit senses. Just like any athlete would exercise their muscles, mediums should exercise their psychic senses, and that can be done without spirit contact. And that's using a candle as a starting point, really, a trigger. And then we went on to the debate, which was what can sometimes be a very, very divisive subject. But that went extremely well. Everyone had a great time, I believe. Well, everyone was ranting about it and enjoyed themselves. Got to meet some new people, made some new friends, and we shall be doing some more. Well, I was going to say next month, but it is next month now. So
it is.
We will be doing more this month. But yes, it was creation versus evolution or not, as the case may be. And I keep getting caught up. Let me tuck me bit in so that it dangles out the top a little bit higher. There we go.
Yeah.
I'm just stop there. I just realised what I said. I do apologise. Could have been misconstrued.
Yes. It is a very divisive topic, and it's one you can talk yourself in and out and round and round in loops and you know. Yes. And we have discussed and debated this before.
We have,
yes.
And it went into a right royal deep and meaningful, actually. And I was really, really chuffed because as much as it is a very divisive thing, the way people were discussing, the way people were talking with each other, the way people were sharing ideas, it wasn't divisive at all. It really, really wasn't. In that moment, it was a wonderful debate and conversation. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. No, you were
Wow.
absolutely, Julie, you were absolutely fine. I was talking to Cherry this afternoon, and she was saying, you know, it actually, it was nice to have someone who was ready to ask questions and able to ask questions and keen to ask questions, because it helps things go along, which is a good point to remind everyone at home that this is your debate. So please start asking your questions and keep the debate going, because this is your show. Queen of the Links, Queen of the Links.
Yes.
I don't know what you mean, Dawn. I don't know what you mean, Glenda.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Society, society might have forgotten to, but it seems that those that certainly came along on Tuesday hadn't. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. And, you know, once again, the most important thing, just because I've created the title, just because, you know, I'm doing, for want of a better term, the keynote speech and leading the conversation, I learned a lot as well from discussing these things with people and hearing other people's ideas as well. So it really, really was fun. And we are going to be doing another one as well as a workshop. There's going to be another debate. And that will be, because let's face it, we want to keep it divisive. It's going to be reincarnation next time.
Ooh. Interesting. Interesting.
Slap my thigh. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
I bet. It should be really good. It should be really good. That's another one that can get people tied up in knots, and it really doesn't have to. It really doesn't have to. It's how did you prepare for your lives on Facebook on your first time? I think that is.
Yes. What about you? Because obviously we've both been doing this a fair old while now, and as we're getting into a couple of old duffers, can you remember your first live?
Oh, I can. I can. I can remember sitting with the mouse hovering over the go live button for about 15 minutes before I dared press it. And yeah, it was terrifying, because the reason I started lives was because I was going out with a paranormal group at the time, and I got some information through that did not fit with the building we were in at all. And I said, I can hear Billie Jean, Michael Jackson's Billie Jean, playing in my head, and it's weird. And somebody messaged and said, I don't believe this. I'm sat listening to that, and that person sounds just like somebody I know that you're talking to. And so I started giving a reading, and I thought, oh, this works. This is bizarre. I didn't know you could do it like this. So that's why I thought, oh, well, I'll go on Facebook Live and see what happens. And yeah, that's how I fell into it. And then randomly somebody started watching me and commenting and chatting, and here we are several years later.
Yes. Yeah.
How about you, sir?
Well, mine was a lot easier, really, because I didn't even notice by the capacity at which I was using it. I didn't really notice or do anything different. I had a reason for doing it as well. Our medium secretary of the time, Reverend Wendy, she was housebound, bedbound most of the time, and you know, I thought it only fair, if she is going to be booking mediums for the church, it would be nice for her to see them from time to time. So Dad, bless him, he got a little wooden block and cut a groove out, and I used to just prop me mobile in the little groove, and we'd broadcast the first part of the service before the mediumship kicked in every Thursday night. So it was just there, and I didn't really have to notice it too much. And then, so when it came to I mean, that was going on for about 2 or 3 years. When it then came to the pandemic, it was just a simple case of just turn it on and go, because it felt normal. So I suppose really I didn't have what you'd call a proper first live. I wasn't overly concerned. But it was once again all because Wendy couldn't come to church, so we would broadcast the first bit. I will say the first time I did mediumship online, I was frankly kecking oneself because I was so used to working standing up. I hadn't done many private readings up to that point because it was all platform work, and so I was used to standing up, and it wasn't a case of I was concerned, will a piece of plastic in the way get in the way? It was literally, can I do this sitting down? You know, and I mean, even when we were in circle, when it came out to give a reading, we'd actually stand up, and orate from there. So for me, it was really kind of, can I do mediumship sitting down? And of course I could, because it doesn't really matter. But it's the strange little things that get you, I suppose, isn't it?
It is. It's the little quirks. I've just spotted. No, Jean, I am not sat in the loo.
Yeah, I can see what she thinks there, because it looks like a narrow room, but it's not.
Yeah. But hey, no, I'm not. Yeah, live is a very strange beast, because it can go off in all sorts of directions that you don't expect. and especially when, like today's show, we've got nothing planned as such, and it is just down to people to comment and ask questions and join a conversation that drives it, which is really interesting. Oh, Paul, you'll be fine. You'll be fine, love.
Absolutely. You know, just the only advice I could give you is forget about it being online. You're still communicating with people. You're still communicating with spirit. In one sense, it can be a lot more comfortable in the fact that you're doing it in your own home. I mean, perfect example, when we switched from the village hall to the pandemic, I was happy to be going back to the hall because I missed, you know, the interaction with people. But the one thing I did miss was the fact that we finished at 9:15 and I would roll over and go straight to bed. You know, so you've got the home comforts there as well to kind of offset any, because it really it's as though once you get going, it's as though it's not really online at all, because spirit don't give a what's it about whether you're in the same room as someone. And you know, the advantage is as well for me, and I don't know whether you agree or not, Tony, if you're doing a one-to-one on screen with someone. So for instance, if I was doing a one-to-one with you right now online, I'm not distracted by what's going on around you or who else is in the room. I'm not distracted by objects in the room, or, you know, worrying about whether the light's coming in the window and going to annoy me. It literally is. It's just you and me and spirit and done. So it can have great advantages, I feel. So enjoy, mate. You'll be fine.
You will. You'll be absolutely fine. And to anybody, because I saw Kaza said she was doing one as well, you will be fine. Spirit won't get that message out. So they're not bothered. They will work with you to get that message across no matter what. I'm just trying to catch up on the comments.
Yes.
I think we've highlighted some. Eddie has a theory that irks some people. He believes linear time is a human-created myth, and all our lives are happening at once. Interesting.
It's relating to the reincarnation. I'm sure it does irk some people, but I quite like it. You know,
I could.
And you know, what is the one thing people keep saying to us? There is no time in spirit. Time runs differently in spirit.
Yeah. Maybe that is what's happening. Maybe that there is what's happening.
May well be. So yes, I'm not gonna be irked. It's a very rational, very spiritual point of view, and you know, I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I do. I think that's a really interesting concept. And your friend Tim,
Here he is. Right, let's bring this one up. So Tim, hello Tim, says, I have a question for you guys that I was asked in a class last night. Do you think everybody deserves a hearing? In my opinion, yes. I'd love to hear what you think. However, if you knew that day, for example, I'd murder a child as a healer. I'd murdered a child as a healer. Could you keep your mind pure during the act of healing? So does everybody deserves healing? I'm going to jump straight in with that one, if I may.
Go on.
Because we know that healing is of mind, body, and spirit. If anybody blooming needs healing, it's someone who commits a heinous act. You know, we talk about healing, sending out love to those that are in need. We talk about healing as something that is required to help people improve their difficult situations. If you are a person who has done something either in the first place, for example, an accidental death, someone who's called that, they are going to torture themselves far worse than anybody else can be if they're a decent person. But if someone has performed that deliberate act, then what they need in their lives is love. What they need in their lives is compassion. And what they need in their lives is some light to bring them back from the darkness. So absolutely everyone should have healing. And deserving, I think, doesn't come into it. And deserving is beyond our frame point view. Healing comes direct from spirit, through spirit, to spirit. So we have no decision on whether it comes or not. That is down to the source of all existence and all life. So if you are able to put your hands on that person and that healing is able to come through, then God says yes. And so therefore, those that are in the darkest places are the ones that need the light most. So absolutely, yes, they should get healing. Would I be able to keep my thoughts out of it? I'd probably struggle. But we also know that the best way to do particular hands-on healing is leave it to spirit. It comes from spirit, through spirit, to spirit. We should keep our noses out of it. So I would literally just shut off from everything about who I'm with, what I'm doing, and just leave it to spirit. Because ours is not to reason why is a horrible sentence. But in this instance, ours is not to reason who deserves what. It's not up to us. If that healing is going to come, it's because it's meant to and intended. And we have no say on that. We can help it by being a channel for it, and we can direct it by being a channel for it. But ultimately, nobody gets healing if they don't deserve it. And therefore, in my view, everybody deserves healing because everyone can get it. But that's just my 10 pence worth plus a few bob on the side. Tony, your thoughts?
Basically what he said, but I would just add to that there's only God can decide and God can judge who gets healing and who doesn't, and who gets forgiveness and who doesn't. So as a healer, I think, like Nick said, I would just say, right, this person is asking for help, spirit, help if you choose to. And it would just flow because everybody deserves it. And the healing prayer we said in that I borrowed from Nick just says, for those who suffer in mind, in body, or in spirit, that it please thee to heal them. So if it pleases God to heal them, it pleases me.
And in the words that I will use with one of my uniforms on, "Thy will be done." Has great weight there. We dilute the power of spirit if we get involved. Absolutely, especially if we're judging.
Absolutely.
Eddie's keeping quiet. Once again, it's going to be one of those things where we will struggle based on personal experience to accept certain things. I'm not saying that the healing is deserved as a reward. I'm saying it's required to help make them better than they are. And I think we all agree that someone who deliberately hates, deliberately causes people pain, is required to get better. It's not just about healing, it's about the benefit of those that have to be around that person. Because what we sometimes forget is, for every what would be deemed as born monster, and I genuinely don't believe that. I believe that people are made the way they are, grow the way they are, and have the opportunity and personal responsibility to decide whether they become that person or not. But around every what would be deemed as born monster is an innocent family who will feel responsible in some way, and they're the ones that deserve healing too. Of course, I'm not justifying, I'm not praising, and I'm certainly not condoning any negative action. I'm simply saying that the best way to deal with darkness is to shine a bit of light on it.
And if the person, I think I pick up Lee Pywell's comment here when I say, yes, especially if they are truly sorry for what they've done and they've asked for forgiveness from the divine energy. And if they're not at that place yet, then we can send out healing to try and help them to get that little bit closer to that place where they are ready to accept what they've done and accept responsibility for what they've done. So it's like you say, it's not a reward, it's not a condoning of what they've done. It's a, look, this person's troubled, this person's in pain. Let's send out some love, some light, some energy to help them to come to terms with everything.
This is where we will, only slightly, but only on the subtleties of it, this is where we will diverge a little bit, because I don't believe that the people that they should be asking forgiveness is the Great Spirit first. It should be those that they've done bad to. This is one of the things that I've always been frustrated with traditional church view, is that if you ask for forgiveness from God and God decides to forgive you, then all is forgiven and you'll be better. No, you have to seek forgiveness from those you have wronged and actually do something about it. This whole idea of sitting there and saying 3 Hail Marys and everything's forgiven, frankly, really gets my goat. If you are truly sorry, seek forgiveness from the one you have done wrong to, and then do something about it. And then God will automatically forgive, because you've done what you need to do. God would automatically forgive because God is all forgiving, yes, but that forgiveness would be deserving. Because, that there is no magic potion, there is no magic spell, there are no special words that you can say that fixes things. It's actions that need to be done. And Paul, you are absolutely within your right to do not. Absolutely, you won't, because they got to do something pretty damn special to make it up, and sometimes that cannot be done on the earth plane. If there is an effort, that will be supported and encouraged, but it has to be earned, and any forgiveness has to be earned in my book. And so, for someone with your viewpoint, whom I have been in that situation with various other different situations too, I wouldn't say I've forgiven people. I would say I have moved on, but I'm always still very cautious and wary. But I'm accepting of the possibility that they may be trying to make an amends. If that's forgiveness, then I've forgiven them, but I don't think it is. But I think forgiveness should come from, the one that is aired first, because then you've earned it from the Great Spirit. But on the grand scheme of things, that is a very subtle difference, isn't it? But I think it's one that I needed to share.
Yes. And I just took it from that perspective. I mean, yes, you've got to go back to those that have been wronged and seek forgiveness there first.
Yes.
And yes, Sharon, it's not for us to judge who receives healing from the divine. It's for the divine. It's our job as healers to just channel that healing, and spirit and the divine will judge where it goes. It's for them.
Yes, here comes the. I'm going to deal with. I think we need to deal with Paul first.
Yeah.
There is an extent to that, but there is an extent to that, but still, forgiveness needs to be earned. The point is, and just picking up on that, you're absolutely right. We do have to be careful when we say forgive somebody. If we forgive somebody, that means we've already judged them. And as a spiritualist, we embrace the brotherhood of man, immaterial of whether they are brother or sister or have done. If someone asks for forgiveness, they've judged themselves. So that is in the remit that I'm speaking of. You're absolutely right. We do have to specify that and be clear about that. If someone's asking forgiveness, the person who's judged them is themselves. And it is for us to decide whether we can or not. If someone is proven to be guilty of something, is witnessed to have been guilty of something, and does not admit to it, they're not asking forgiveness. So it can't be given, in my view. You can't forgive someone if they're not asking for it, because it needs to be earned. But that sits outside of healing.
Yes.
Yeah. Because it's, and I think once again, that word deserve, we have to be careful of. Need is more accurate, I would say. Need is more accurate than deserve. And yeah, I agree with you there, Sugar. I think the biggest struggle they'll face is forgiving themselves. If not, the first struggle would be admitting fault, because that's probably a lot harder than forgiving oneself.
Yes.
Someone who is in where we are in that position, when we are in that position. But, you know, if someone is asking for forgiveness, they've got to earn it. And if they're asking forgiveness, in my book, they have fessed up and given that judgment upon themselves. But you're right, we do have to be careful how we pronounce it. Have you seen anything that you want to pick up on? Because I'm guessing.
There are a couple of really meaty ones in there. Lee's asking about somebody like Ian Brady, who never showed remorse for what he did and wouldn't even tell that poor woman where her son was buried. That's a bit of a meaty one that needs some dissecting, I think. And also, I just looked. Where was it? Let's just deal with that bit first. For me, that just echoes what you've said, that he showed no remorse for what he did and wouldn't even acknowledge what he'd done. But for me, yes, he still deserves the healing of the Great Spirit.
I would say exactly that, but substitute the word deserve for need.
Yes, because I was going to say, because I was just picking up on Lee's word there.
Yeah.
But he needs healing for what he's done. So he actually needs both there, Lee, and to just pick up both of your points there. He deserves healing for what he's done, and to try and get his spirit to a point where it is remorseful for what he's done, which I think picks up on Tim's second point about the soiling of their own spirit, because that ties that together nicely with a little bow, that yes, their spirit is damaged and carries that stain across because they're not showing remorse, they've not asked for forgiveness, so that will go with them over to the divine, and that's where their work's got to continue. I was going to say start then, but it's not start, it's continue, because they've got to try and get to a point where they can acknowledge what they did as a physical being to move forward. Otherwise, the progression of the soul can't happen, because they're stuck, because they're anchored back to what they did in the physical. Just my 2 penneth on that one. That's
absolutely. And adding into that, the spirit is pure. However, our experiences, and this is, if you'll bear with me, because I'm kind of like going for a direct download, because this actually, after a fashion, came up with the conversation that I had with Cherry today. Not for the same reason, but the principle applies. So, Cherry, thank you. The soul is pure. Let's imagine for a moment that the soul is bright blue ink. And in our life, our job is to dip our pen into the ink and write the story of our life with that purest of energy, the soul. On that score, then, our experiences shape what words are going to be written, but it's still the language of the soul. But if you were to dip that ink on that pen into water, you dilute that ink. Now, that ink is still pure, but what is going on around the soul, what happens to the soul, has the potential to dilute it. Now, in science, we're able to boil things away and boil off the water because okay, fine, where are we going with this? You can put that diluted ink into a pot and boil it away, because the boiling point of ink is higher than the boiling point of water. So you can evaporate that water and make it pure again. It's not that it was ever a different thing. It was just diluted or stained in this particular instance. Purity of an energy does not change. If it's blended with someone else, that purity of energy is still there. It's just, it's been changed and shaped by whatever has come into contact with it. So, yeah, I believe that the spirit is pure, but that which goes around it can dilute it. And so the process of putting right what once went wrong, about correcting our mistakes and doing something active to do it about it, is the process of boiling off the dilution and bring it back to its original state. So I think the spirit can be pure but get soiled. But as we all know, stick a Daz in the dishwasher, or stick a Daz in the washing machine, you can remove soil if you care enough to want to do it and know how to. I think is the point I'm trying to make there. So I think the soul is always pure. But I think that what we experience can dilute it, if that makes sense.
It does. Yes, it's it is a meaty one. It is a meaty one. And yes, I know a lot of people echo April's point about he doesn't deserve forgiveness. Fine, but he deserves our prayers to try and find a way to move forward.
Yeah.
Wherever he is now, bless him. No, don't bless him. You know what I mean?
No. And certainly it's not my place to forgive anyone that has done anything to someone else. I don't have the right to offer forgiveness, and this is why I wouldn't.
No.
That is between him and whoever he has wronged. And like I said, right from the beginning, it's not about deserving, it's about, needing
the need that help. Yeah.
But also forgiveness has to be earned, just not just requested. And so, to an extent, although I'm probably a little bit lighter on the subject, God knows how, if there was a hell, he probably would, but unfortunately for a spiritualist, I don't believe there is. I do believe there is a place where you have to stop and watch the experiences that you have done unto others in order to learn the error of your way. But I don't believe there is, I don't believe there is an absolute hell.
No.
Hell is a fabrication, and frankly, sometimes it makes you wonder if this is hell. That's certainly the concept of it.
I've heard that before, that we
Yeah.
live hell now and move on at the end of it. The comments are absolutely exploding. I can't
Yeah,
keep up.
and
Sorry, I'm sort of just
trying to keep up with everyone, and thank you
yeah,
all so much. The comments are all
absolutely.
amazing. Please, 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 keep them coming in. Whether you agree with us or not, we want to hear your opinions. Thoughts shape the universe. I know someone has been kicked to death. Turn music up when sets on played. Is he now at peace? Can somebody now be at peace if they've done something heinous? I think there's a lot of making up to do, but there's always the possibility. But they'll have had to have done something pretty special to be at peace. And once again, as everyone at the workshop was constantly saying, depends on your meaning by at peace. Depends on your meaning by forgiveness. Depends on your meaning by healing. Depends on your meaning by good. Depends on your meaning by evil, because we all have our own view and viewpoint as to what it is. Tim says, surely an evil act starts as a thought in the consciousness. Are you saying every negative thought dilutes illumination on one's own incarnate spirit? I actually think it the other way round, Tim. From what I've been given by Spirit and the way I've interpreted what they've shown me, that negativity is what creates the dilution. So the negativity dilutes the illumination on one's incarnate spirit. So therefore it becomes easier for that negative thought and therefore act for that particular individual. God knows how, but most rational, normal people who haven't got that negativity of that level in their soul would not be able, I hope, to figure the mind of someone in that situation. But what I'm saying is the situation you are in creates the negativity dilution. The dilution of the soul creates that negativity, and it is that negativity that then forms the thought in the consciousness, which is then able to be acted upon. Not the see, you could easily go down the route of just lightening it up a little bit for a moment. Harry Potter's Horcruxes. For anyone who has seen that and where she got this idea, God only knows from. Where she gets any idea from, God only knows. But the point is, the idea of a Horcrux was you had to do something heinous to split the soul and therefore create a thing that would keep you going. I actually think it's the other way around. That act, that damage is already there for that act to be created. So a position you are put in, an attitude that you are fed. One of the things that we was talking about with Jerry today is dogma, and how dogma is something that is ingrained into you. If you go through an experience that ingrains hatred into you, then that is the negative dilution, and it is that negative dilution that makes you capable of such an act, not the other way around, because I don't believe in pure evil as a substance of its own. It is a generation, a creation of situation. People have to experience something to break them rather than an act breaks them. for in this situation anyway. What are your thoughts, Chief? Because I need to catch up on the comments because I'm about a year behind.
I'm still trying. We've opened a can of worms. I don't believe in people being born evil at all. Everything I studied when I did my degree told me that people weren't born evil. Some people are born with a capacity which can be tapped into by if the stars align. If given a perfect storm, these things can happen. But I sort of want to come on to, because we've talked a lot about the evil and the act and things. Daniel's picking up on forgiveness. Forgiveness is a self thing. If you're wanting forgiveness, then I don't believe you should have it. It shouldn't be about making yourself feel better about a situation. It should be offered as to make a blunt end of the situation and feel better for themselves. I think what he's trying to say is a lot of people will say sorry and ask for forgiveness to take their pain away, not to take away the pain of the person that's been wronged. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I think what that Daniel's trying to pick up on is if you are asking for forgiveness for the right reason to take away the pain of the person you have wronged, then that's a wonderful thing for both parties.
Yeah.
Because the person who's done the deed has understood and has processed the harm that has been caused, and the person who has been wronged is aware of that and can then say whether they accept that apology and offer forgiveness or not. So it's very subtle.
It is, and it's hard sometimes to emphasize what it is that we feel within that situation. You're absolutely right. The purpose of forgiveness should not be to make the guilty party feel better. It should be for the benefit of the one wronged, which is why the one wronged is the only one that can provide that forgiveness. And somebody, I can't remember who it was, and it'd take me a year to find out, but whoever it was, you're brilliant. Forgiveness is a gift. Forgiveness is a gift, not an expectation. And it's really, really funny in a sense, and not funny, ha. As spiritualists, certainly from my generation of spiritualists, we all accepted as a bare minimum the 7 principles. The modern generation of spiritualism, not necessarily so much, but certainly from my generation of spiritualism, we accept the 7 principles as a bare minimum. As a Christian spiritualist, I have 8. We're not going to argue over one. Well, I hope not anyway. Yeah, Paul, this is very, very deep. It's a week for it because, we all got a bit deep on Sunday and then on Monday too. And all that was the question, is a flame alive? But yeah, when it comes to, the depth of the conversation and the nuances of it, forgiveness, we who are of my generation of spiritualists believe in the 7 principles. And as Tim pointed out, there is the brotherhood of man. But there is, as he pointed out indirectly in one of his other comments, the eternal progress of every soul. I don't say human soul because I believe progress is open to every soul. But the eternal progress open to every soul. If we accept that as a spiritualist, we cannot believe in true evil. We cannot believe in evil incarnate, and we cannot believe that people cannot change. By accepting that principle, we're accepting that people can make good on their deeds. That's pretty heavy. And I think for people to just say, I accept the 7 principles without having this conversation is dangerous. because you're opening yourself to saying this is okay when actually you don't believe it yet or ever. And I think that's important. If the spiritualist belief always has been eternal progress, so everyone has the opportunity and ability to make good on what they have done. Whether they take it or not, and whether they do enough, is way beyond my pay grade. I leave that to the governor.
Yeah. Daniel's just highlighted a comment he made earlier, which is, I forgive but never forget. And the relationship is never the same because I remove myself from that situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know what? Kudos to you for that.
Yeah.
Really. You have got to protect yourself.
You have. And I always say that I couldn't understand what Spirit was showing me the first time it happened. They just showed me a twig and snapped it and then brought it back together and put tape around it. And I thought, I don't understand. And it was about trust. Once a trust's broken, you can tape it up and you can stick it back together, but that break's always there. And I think it's still the same with forgiveness. You can forgive somebody, you can move on, but like you said, though, Nick, you're still wary, you're still careful, you're still a bit when those people are around you. And yeah, Daniel, once bitten, twice shy. It is a very interesting subject. I'm really pleased we've gone down this rabbit hole today because it's something I've been thinking about myself, and we need to. It's helped me process some stuff in my head.
Yeah, this is really, really important. We are not authoritative.
You might be sorry again, dear.
I'm back rubbing people up the wrong way again, or at least their eardrums. I think it's really important. We are not an authority on these subjects. We are here to discuss, to talk about it, to work it through. You know, there will be things that people online will say that will sit and make me think, Only by discussion do we actually grow. And I think it's important, you know, like I said, if we're gonna sit here and spout the 7 principles, we've actually got to back them up. And this is one of the hardest ones for people to accept.
Yeah.
It really is. You know, to say that every soul has the potential to put right what once went wrong, it's a hard one. But as I've already explained my viewpoint on it, that's why I believe it's possible. Whether I can fully accept that or not, you know, that's for me personally to deal with, and I would never tell anyone that they'd have to forgive anyone. It's not my job. It's not my job. It's got to be wanted, it's got to be earned, it's got to be for the right reasons, and it's got to come, you know, from the person that's been wronged.
Absolutely. And can I just jump on Daniel's comment there about he's going to contradict himself? I've had this conversation with various people about our son Ben. I've said, if he committed murder, I could still love him. Yeah, exactly that. I would love him. I would love him to bits. Don't like what he did. Don't like him in that moment because he's done that. But I would still go and visit him in prison and see him as often as I can, because you have to be able to. There are people in your life who you will do that for. And yeah, Michael, we graft many plants. Sometimes it's an opportunity to join and create something new that flourishes. Absolutely. Absolutely. You can take that join and you can let it grow and see where it goes and see what's done. And it's something that you have to be prepared to go with. If you can take that little bit of damage and wrap it up and nurture it, it could grow into something beautiful. It can. And yeah, they are your blood at the end of the day, Daniel. They are. Oh.
Very good point.
I, I'm going out on a limb here, and it's a train of thought that I'm verbalizing as it's approaching in my head. Forgiveness, for me, if somebody's done me wrong and they come to me and say, I can see the hurt I've caused you, can you forgive me? I think I would have to sort of take a moment and think about it and think about, is it something I can put to one side and move on with? Or is it a thing where you sort of say, right, no, I can forgive you, but that relationship's done and I want to move on completely. But I don't think it's an actual thing. I think it's a letting go. It's a letting go of the negative feelings that something can or an act can bring up in you. We've all had things. There was a question earlier on about times in your life where you feel your faith's been broken, but Spirit have brought it back. I can think of several things in my life where people have done things, said things to me that have cut deep. And it took me a long time to get to a point where I could move on from that. And that forgiveness for me was letting go of that negative feeling that I'd been holding on to, almost to the point where it gave me comfort, Nick, because it was familiar and it was mine. It was my pain, my hurt. And it's a letting go of that and wishing the best for the people that did it. Some people I've had conversations with that said things and did things, but some people I haven't, but I still wish them the best because that was a lifetime ago and things were said and things were done and you can just, for me, it's not a physical thing. It's a letting go of it's an acknowledgement. It's an acknowledgement of pain, of upset, of hurt, of whatever. But I think it's something that's got to come from both sides.
Yes.
Because like you said, Nick, if somebody asks me for forgiveness and I'm not in that place yet, then it can't be given.
Yeah.
It can't be given. And the person who's wronged can't, in my opinion, say, I asked them to forgive me and I acknowledge their hurt, so it's all right. No, if that person's not in that place where they can let that go, then you've not received that forgiveness. Yes, you've asked for it, but you haven't received it.
Yeah.
You haven't received it. So it's got to be a two-way thing.
Here. Now, I've highlighted 3 recent comments.
I saw them go.
Yeah. The reason is they all tie in with what I want to say in backup to what you've just said, and they all cross over. A particular story that I'd like to share as an example, and it's a drop in the ocean in comparison, but at the time it was pretty big for me. So Tim has said forgiveness is the first step to self-healing. Absolutely. Do you believe that time is a healer? There's the question. I hope what I'm about to say answers that in some way. And Michael has said, I think where we say forgive, we mean understand. To a very large extent, I agree. The reason is this, and it's not something that I talk about very often, and I'm not going to name names because I have been through that process of whatever it is with the individual concerned. But should he ever perchance to watch upon this, thank you for giving me the opportunity to say what I'm about to say. When I was a child, when I was at school, I was what might be deemed as an easy target. I've learned in my life to be a mouthy bastard, if the truth be told, and I don't apologise for that. It can go on the blooper reel, I don't care. I am. I've learned to stand up for myself. I've learned to have an answer for everything. I've learned to defend myself by using my voice and my words. So I am a mouthy what's-it. Back then I wasn't. I didn't know how to defend myself. I didn't know how to stand up for myself. And there was one particular individual that I was at school with who can only be described as my mortal nemesis of the time. You know, if there ever is such a thing, mortal nemesis. We really just did not like each other. There was just, we really didn't see eye to eye on anything, and it got violent. And there was a lot happened, lot said, lot done, but it culminated with a rather large stone being thrown at my head. And it did cause me pain, and it did cause me injury, but everything that led up to it had also done so. That individual left the school, that individual moved on with their life, I moved on with mine. And for a long time I hated him. The only person that was hurting was me. So in the end, I just forgot about him. I just moved on, and I'd heard things about his life and his circumstances that weren't particularly nice. And interestingly, if you're still with us, Tim, this is where I was talking about the ink and the dilution. The situation that he was in had generated the individual that he was. He grew up, learned his life, learned his lessons, did his things. And we are talking around about, Tim, we're talking about 20 years, if not 30 years later. It was very recent. So I'd say it's probably about 25 years later. He found me on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it was. And he'd seen that I was wearing the dog collar and all of this. And he sent me a message and he said, I see that you are a man of the cloth. Well done, mate. I too have found my faith and my religion. We don't necessarily agree on what it is, but faith is faith. I also recognize that I did some rather harsh, unkind, and terrible things to you. And could you find it within your heart to forgive me? And at that point, my answer was, there is nothing to forgive, because I put this behind me a long time ago. Your actions, although hurtful, were a product of your time. If you're asking me for forgiveness, then yes. But in my view, we are both two very different people now. And so therefore, I don't believe there is anything to forgive. We should just move on and learn from it. And if you have, then it is there. And although that felt good in some ways, it brought back a lot that I had moved on from. So yes, time can be a healer, but does it heal properly? Is it just scabbing over the wound? And then as soon as you see it and it rips it back off, here we go again. And there was an element of that, but I'm also glad that that conversation happened for myself and him and all of the people around him. Yeah. It was nice to see that he had learnt and to make good on it and had come. And as someone who had found religion, it would have been easy for him to have just asked the governor for forgiveness. But he didn't. He asked me. And that was what mattered. That was what mattered to me. And I know it's on the grand scheme of things, and certainly the subject we've touched today, a much lower level thing. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Christine. He had carried that guilt for years, just like I had carried the burden of forgetting about it rather than moving on from it. Because there is a subtle difference. And it's that moment of the wound is scabbed over rather than healed. You rip it off, it flows all over again. You've got to heal properly and deal with things. I will just say, I'm sure he won't mind, because this is the one thing. This was my moment. The very last thing he ever did, it was a Christmas. He put up a huge block of snow. I mean, it was really, really compressed and hard. And he picked it up and he was going to smash it on my head. And I just happened to be holding something rather long and pointy at the time. And I bashed the lump of snow with it. And it all fell down and made him cold, and he caught a cold. So, you know, in a way, I got my own back in a gentler way. But was that the right thing to do? Probably not. But at least it stopped me getting it with something harder.
When people hold a grudge, are they creating a bitter life for themselves? Joanne Lewis. I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the letting go of the negativity. I think if people hold a grudge, then they're not ready to move on. And I think they've got to get to that point where they're ready to let go of it and to look for peace. Because while you're holding that energy and you're holding that negativity and those memories, you're not going to find a peaceful life. Just in my opinion.
Because and just to back that up, I heard the greatest advice on this a few weeks back. If you're holding a grudge, what is it actually doing for the person that you're holding the grudge against? Sod all. What is it doing for you? Everything.
Yeah.
Not necessarily
making you miserable.
So yeah, I totally agree with you, Tony.
Yeah.
Eunice says, do you not think that life is a classroom? We learn and grow and experience things that we may not like. Unfortunately, that's life. It's how we deal with it. That single sentence there is how we deal with it. Forgiveness, if earned, makes us feel better. Yes, absolutely. And it is that and in that sentence, it's that 1 6-letter word, earned. That's the important bit.
Yeah, exactly. I think Tim's comment, I think the important thing here is that everybody finds their own truth and what gives their mind and spirit peace.
Amen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And yes, Christine, it can also make you ill. It can make you physically ill and mentally ill. And I think that is the important thing to learn, that you sometimes, not all the time, but you sometimes find, when you do find that peace and you can let go of that grudge, if we're calling it a grudge, negative feelings, whatever, if you can let go of that, it can make you feel so much better. So much better.
Yes.
Physically and mentally.
Absolutely.
Yes, we're all in detention, mate.
I've gotta say, Michael, I think that you could substitute every word we've discussed for understanding there today. Earned, not given. Earned, not given. Absolutely.
And Linda, you if you're not unhappy about it, love, but
I know my mother doesn't. I know my mother will probably think that I'm picking on her, but there is a danger in that statement, and I'm gonna call it as it is, because it's nothing that I haven't already said to her, in fairness. So, She says, I can't forgive, but I'm not unhappy about it. No, but you mention it a lot. So it's obviously in your mind and you're not thinking of other things like buttercups, daisies and all the pretty flowers. So although you feel happy about it or feel that you're not unhappy about it, I would question if you really are, but that's just my view. If we cannot let something go, as Julie says, if we cannot let something go and we're constantly drawing back to it, it's obviously present in our mind. And so I would question the resoluteness of that statement, if not the will. Does that make sense?
It does. And to pick up Michael's point, that is your mum's choice.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
If you can understand why she's made that choice and the effect it's having on her in her life, yeah. But
once again, it's not for me to tell mum she must forgive.
No.
I can't.
You've got to get to that place where you A, want to, and B, can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've also got to remember, and this is really the important bit, it has to be asked for.
Yeah.
In the situation mum's talking about, it hasn't been asked for. So she shouldn't feel bad about it when you can't give something that hasn't been asked for.
No, absolutely. Just want to say a quick hello to Holly Biv, who says, first time tuning into one of our lives, really enjoying it. Lovely, deep chat, really beautiful vulnerability from both of us. Holly, we've got to lay it out there because that's the only way to get honest debate and honest discussion.
Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, as ministers, we are in a position. Whatever that position is, I don't know. But as ministers, we're in a position. That position requires us to try, at the very least, of being of benefit to people. We can't do that by quoting 2,000 or 5,000-year-old words and giving people advice based off that. It has to be pertinent. It has to be real. And people who might benefit from anything we say have to see that it's genuine and real, just like with forgiveness.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have to an extent, put our heart on our sleeve and lay our souls on the line. And be careful how you say that too quickly. Because it's really, really important that people see the genuine side of what it is that we're trying to achieve. And so if we can use personal examples, you can see the reality behind the reason why we have rationalized and come to that conclusion.
And it's our conclusions. It may not be right. You may not agree with where we've come to, but at least by talking honestly and openly from the heart, you can see why we are where we are, and maybe understand that from that perspective.
Absolutely. Let's say our solutions are our solutions, and they were right for us, weren't they, Tony?
They were. And the weird thing is, although we're sort of different generation and different lives, we've come to a lot of the same solutions to similar issues.
Yeah.
And it's really strange. It's really strange. But,
or is it?
Or is it? If something has really... Oh, Eunice, this sounds a bit deep again. If something has really hurt you, then that's hard to forgive. It is. But like Nick's just said to his mum, if a person hasn't asked for forgiveness, we can't give it. We can move on and we can get on with our lives. And like Nick said about his situation from years ago, you may have let go of that situation all those years ago, but until that person's asked for forgiveness, you and I'm just picking one at the minute. There's a scab on my arm.
Yeah.
It hasn't
not
healed.
done. It's
It's
not
not done until that person has asked for forgiveness. That's not done. And then, unfortunately, yes, you've got to go through that pain again of, oh God, now it stings and it hurts, and but then you can finally put it to bed and move on. But yeah, Suzanne, got to go. Bye, Suzanne. It's wonderful.
And you're absolutely right. It is different to all, and I think that goes back to what I said earlier about it depends on what we mean by forgiveness, what we mean by understanding, what we mean by even spirit or life or any word that we choose. And we are human, and I do agree. And this is why as far as Mum's situation is concerned, the reason that she can't and probably never will is because she knows deep down it's never going to be asked for, but it's still stuck there because it's something that we keep coming back to. And the reason it's still stuck there is because there's been no effort on the part of those involved to resolve it.
Then that goes back to the Ian Brady type situation we had earlier, where you have to carry this little scab on your arm and unfortunately, if the person's passed and hasn't shown remorse and asked for forgiveness, it can't be given. It can't be given. And
although I have seen many a spirit person come through asking for it.
Yes. I was
so
just
there is still a potential, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Oh, Tim, do you know it's 5:20?
Go on, let's have one. Right, we're going to do this one in under 60 seconds each. All right.
Okay.
Here's a heavy question. If an individual does not ask forgiveness, maybe it's because I don't realize I've done wrong. If an individual doesn't realize I've done wrong, are they bringing about less delusion with their own spirit? I think dilution.
Right.
So we do.
We do. That is a possibility, that they might not see that they did anything wrong, and therefore haven't asked for forgiveness because they don't realize they've caused the pain. I still think wrong is in how things are perceived. Harm, is in how things are perceived by the person receiving that pain, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe then it's down to me as an individual to go to somebody and say, do you realize what you did hurt me? To quote our son, maybe it's time to get your big boy words out.
Yeah.
and say, what you did caused me pain, and have that conversation. It's something I know I would find difficult to do, to go to somebody and say, Nick, actually, do you know when we were on live last week and you said this, that upset me a bit.
Yeah.
I would find that really, really difficult to do. Then from a forgiveness point of view, if I've not pointed out to Nick that what he said hurt me, should I be waiting for Nick to come and ask? It's situational. Sorry.
It is. No, you did well. And I've been given a tip and a bit of a guidance on how to answer this with as fewer words as possible, because we all know how bad I am. The answer is simply this. Is it not our responsibility to shine a light on the subject? If we do not, and people do not realize they have wronged us, how can we expect them to ask? If it's a situation where it's obvious, completely different subject, completely different situation. And I think this is where it gets dangerous in this way of life, that we talk about absolutes. There are no absolutes. Right, wrong, good, evil are individual cognitive perceptions. Absolutely, Eddie. So each situation should be dealt with, isolated, and spoken of on its own individual merit. So therefore, if it's something where someone really didn't know and really is unsure, we should shine a light on the subject. If someone's very much aware of what they've done and still don't see the wrong in it for whatever reason, it would depend on the level of what it is that they have done. For instance, if we take our conversation that you gave as an example, if I said something that really, really offended you, and you didn't, if I'm the person that you think I am, then I'd probably be sitting thinking, have I said something to Tony? And I would actually single you out and say, have I done something to offend you? Yeah. And if I am the person you think I am, then I would say, come on, tell me. And then I would apologize that it hurt you. But if I don't know, we have to be careful of jumping very much between, using a wrong word or using a device to harm someone. They are very different levels. So for me, it depends on each situation, should be taken on its own merits. But there we go. It's 23 minutes past 5.
It is. And like Eddie said, and then there's a horse head in your bed. Oh, dear. Good film, that. The Godfather.
Yes, absolutely.
But just before we wrap up, Nick and I have been speaking about how we can evolve these video blogs, whatever you want to call them. And we thought that perhaps some of you might like to come online and join in the conversation. What we were thinking about was maybe for the last half hour-ish of a session once a month, bring somebody in. We had Matthew Stapley from Canada as a guest speaker, but we thought one of you might like to come on and have your two penneth with us. So if you think you would, drop one of us a message or put a comment into the... Where's the little running banner?
Hang on, here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes. There she is. She is.
Go to there and put a comment in and say, yes, please, I would like to. And much like we did when we were doing lives in COVID, we'll put all the names together and pick one at random, and you'll be brought on for the last half hour of the show. And yes, Daniel, we could do a Zoom again.
Yeah, there is. And whilst we're putting banners up, and just to lighten it a little bit, ladies and gentlemen, have you got your Spiritline The Two Revs t-shirt? If you have, welcome to the party. If you haven't and would like one, you can get it here at suffolkinsignia.co.uk/spirit-line. If you would like to just join the party and have a t-shirt that is
mine's in the box. It got washed and folded up.
The description that someone gave me of the t-shirts really, really is quite funny, and I've got to share it. Just a little bit of light humour to end on. It is the logo of Spiritline. It's mine and Tony's heads in orange silhouette on your chest. So someone turned around to me and said, so in other words, it's a visual demonstration that both of you really do get on people's tits.
Oh, I like that. Oh, if it was on a white t-shirt, yes, we could have a white t-shirt competition, Eddie.
Oh, I'll have a word with Tony. Eunice is on. Eunice, Tony, are you painted yourselves blue yet? Can you do one on white so we can have a wet t-shirt competition? I'm sure you wouldn't want me to be involved in that one, that's for sure. But
no, me either.
Yeah, I think it can be done in white. The thinnest material possible, please, Eunice.
Yeah, so it goes
I'll-
nice and see-through.
I'll send one to Tom Daly.
Oh,
Two
yes,
sizes
please.
too small.
Kaza,
Oh,
I'm hurt.
oh.
I'm hurt. I'm hurt.
But
Oh,
isn't it great? We can be so deep and so down to the nitty gritty of really hard subjects, and then have a giggle as well. So in the words of a certain gentleman, Eddie, moving on. It's time to say good night because it's time for me to go and yeah, that's a first. Oh, hello. She takes us both to bed, and come on, all great treasures are found in a large chest.
Ooh. We really are funny. Thank you, Linda.
Absolutely. And thank you to everyone. The time has come to say goodnight, for every road must end. But the good news is, no sooner do you reach the end of one road, there's a fork in the road to decide which one you're going to take next. Mine is for tea and then a rest. And I'm sure we'll wind back this way next time. I'm not even going to put that on the screen.
No. I just caught it out of the corner of my eye and thought, I'll leave that one.
Yeah, but you know who you are.
Yes.
Thank you all so much. Tony, as ever, thank you for a wonderful afternoon.
And you.
Yes, you need to be at Wath Hall by 6, so it's time to say goodnight.
We do.
What did we say, though? We start to say goodbye about 5:10, and it's still 5:30 by the time we leave. It's because we love you all. So from me, it's good night and God bless.
And same from me. Good night, God bless. See you soon.
God bless, goodbye, and be good.